Hey there, fellow entrepreneurs. I'm Sue, and you've just stepped into Entrepreneurs Gone Wild. Every week, I'll introduce you to a friend of mine, a remarkable entrepreneur who's not just changing the world, but also harnessing a secret weapon, time outdoors. Together, we'll dive into their journey, unpack invaluable business advice, and discover why embracing the wild is not just good for the soul, but also a goldmine for inspiration and innovation. Ready to uncover the secret that's boosting bottom lines and fueling joy? Hit subscribe and join us in the wild. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be really fun. I'm really excited to introduce to you Robert Forto. He's the founder of Dogworks Radio, the premium platform for all things dog mushing. How cool is that? Robert empowers dog enthusiasts through print, digital, and podcast content focused on the sport of dog mushing. His expertise helps listeners navigate the challenges and joys of this unique sport, making it accessible to both newcomers and seasoned participants. With a commitment to quality and professionalism, Robert creates informative content that resonates with his audience. His engaging style makes learning about dog mushing fun and informative. He's also really smart about businesses, so this is going to be cool. Get ready to meet a passionate advocate for dog mushing who's dedicated to sharing his love for the sport. Robert, welcome to Entrepreneurs Gone Wild. I'm really happy that you're here.
Well, thank you, Susan. It's a pleasure to be on. I look forward to jumping in and talking about podcasting, dog mushing, and more.
I love it. What else could, this is a complete episode. What else could anybody possibly need? So, all right. So let's kick it off. I always like to ask, what problem or who are you serving and what problem do you solve for them and with them?
Well, we have two ancillary businesses. We have a dog training company. We train dogs all over the country, all over the world, anything from basic obedience all the way through service dogs. And we also are the owners of Mushing Magazine. It is sort of the place to go if you're interested in dog-powered sports. It's been around since 1987. We purchased it in 2023. So we are relatively new owners to this. And boy, is that a lot of work to take on a print magazine in 2025. But I am definitely passionate about the sport. And that's truly who we serve, our dog owners and dog enthusiasts.
That is really cool. I've done a lot. So hubby and I used to own a Volkswagen restoration company, and we would routinely provide, features and all this to a print magazine that was that. And I was like, how is this guy doing this? It must be just insane. And then being in Alaska to do this, my hat is off to you because that is a lot to take on. So how did you tell me a little bit about how did you get where you are? What's your entrepreneurial journey been like?
Well, I have been self-employed my whole life. I'm almost 54 years old, and I can proudly say I've never taken a paycheck from anybody before. So that is something I hang my hat on. So I definitely have that entrepreneurial drive. But I started in college in the early 1990s in Portland, Oregon at Portland State. And I thought I was going to become a veterinarian. And that did not work out too well. I quickly learned that I did not want to spend all of my time inside. So I started dog training in the parks around Portland, and I was working with, the typical stay-at-home soccer moms, if you will, and just training their golden retrievers in their labs and that sort of thing. And I literally showed up to business with a business card, a leash, and a smile way back then. And that has been going since that day. We are starting our 31st year in business as dog training business owners. And then in 2014 or so, let me back up just a little bit. In 2010, we moved to Alaska to chase the crazy Iditarod dream, which you can talk about in a minute. But in 2014, my daughter just graduated from high school, and we were down at the local university checking out the school for her. And she said, why don't you go to school with me? That sort of thing.
Sure.
I started my second career as a student. I was 40 some years old at that point. Ended up doing a second bachelor's in outdoor leadership, which really paved the way to what we're doing now. And then I went on for a master's in sports management and just finished up a doctorate about 2 months ago at the time of this recording in strategic leadership. And I am just enamored with education and learning, and I'm just a lifetime student. So that's sort of the entrepreneurial journey. And, there's a lot of fits and starts along the way there, but we can jump into that in a second.
Yeah. Oh, that is so cool. Congratulations on finishing, because I know that is like, I mean, not that you're done, but you're done with that part at least. That is so cool. That I didn't even know that was a degree, but I would have thought there should be, because it's so powerful having like the leadership type training in an outdoor setting. It's just I've done some things like that, mostly up in the redwoods, and it just really like pours gasoline on this. It just, everything feels stronger. The lessons stick. It hits you more viscerally. There's, this physical imprint of everything that you learn and discover. So that's really cool. All right, tell me more. Tell me more.
So after graduating from my bachelor's program at UAA, I started teaching classes there in outdoor leadership. And one of the first courses that we did was what we called the Winter Multi-Sport Expedition. We took students out for about 190 miles out on the backcountry trails of Alaska by dog sled, snow machine, and fat tire bike. And we were out there for about a week, and that really cemented outdoor leadership on a new level, if you will. A lot of these kids had never been outdoors. They're college kids, they're young. They had never been really in the elements. And I figured, man, this is a heck of a good way to really get out there and teach leadership. So then I started teaching, regular leadership classes, rec planning, that sort of thing. And then I got an offer right around COVID to teach at Alaska Pacific University, which is a private college here in Alaska. And they wanted me to develop a course that not only did dog mushing, but also did outdoor leadership. And we take the dog sledding team, if you will, and apply it to business and leadership. And, how does the leader fit in as a CEO, and, where are the teammates and all of this sort of stuff. And it is really life skills for people that are going into business after college. And I love that course. I believe I'm the only instructor in the United States that teaches dog mushing. So I think that's pretty cool.
That is so cool. And oh my gosh, there's so many parallels too. The analogies are going in my head like crazy. It's such a needed thing,
Yeah.
Most of the time when kids are in college, taking business classes, most of it is, it would have worked, 20, 30 years ago. Or yeah, sure, it works if you're in a huge corporation. But for entrepreneurs, especially, or small business owners, there's not a whole lot of relevant, formal education that's out there. So that's, wow. Do you find like the students are they just kind of mind blown when they've, had these experiences with you?
Oh yeah, and they see it from the very beginning, because you see the chaos of a dog sledding team. And for folks that aren't familiar, go out and watch the movie Togo. It's on Disney Plus, anything like that, and you will see exactly what we're talking about. And we start from the very beginning, because we have classroom sessions and then field sessions and back and forth. I mean, this is a true college experience. It's not just coming out and having fun on the weekends. And we really apply those principles about how we can use these concepts, whether in business or in your work life or your personal life or on expeditions or whatever. And by the time that they leave, every one of them say, man, I am a much better leader because of this, because we have done such an applied process. And I think that that's so important.
Yeah, the systematic type of thing. They will never forget this. I would imagine
Right.
They graduate, they go on, and they're probably still going to be talking about your class, like.
A fun story, we post all of our stuff on Instagram and Facebook and all of that. And just last night, we had a little birthday party for our 14-year-old dog, Bodie. And it's so cool because students that took our classes way back in 2017, 2018 will comment and say, oh, happy birthday, Bodie, or whatever. But then what's even cooler is we will post pictures of dog teams. We'll have the names of the dogs, and they'll say, oh my goodness, I thought that was Chief, or I thought that was Hawkins, or whoever. They remember the dogs almost 8 or 9 years later, and that is so cool. I mean, a lot of people can recall things from college, but when you're thinking about experiences that you had, that is such a takeaway.
That's huge. What a really cool thing. I mean, of course they're remembering you too, but like with the dogs, that's so I have to know because I have a husky. His name is Mishka. We adopted him. He's huge, but he thinks he's tiny. Are most of your dogs huskies, or are they kind of just, what do you have?
Well, we have 36 sled dogs. 34 of those are Alaskan Huskies. We have 2 of them that are Siberians. One of them is a Sepala Siberian that goes way back to the Balto line, which is serum run stuff. So we have one of those guys, but the Alaskan Husky was purpose-bred to do this job. They're born to run. They look like your typical husky. A lot of our dogs have the pointy ears and the fluffy tails and all of that, but these guys are athletes. I mean, they are born and ready to do this, and when they see a harness, they know it's time to rock and roll.
That's so cool. Now, all right, so huskies normally, my son also has 3 of them. We're like, what? These dogs are so weird sometimes. So we also have 3 other where we're like, we have dogs and we have huskies. Like, they're just not quite the same thing at all. Like, are yours super emotional? Is that a thing?
I as a dog trainer, I've seen probably every breed imaginable in all the years that we've worked with dogs, but Siberian Huskies in particular are a special breed. They're almost like cats.
Yes.
They don't care if you exist. They will do their own thing. They will talk back and literally give you the finger, if you will. They are a special breed, and that's what makes them so fun and challenging is if you're thinking about in business or in leadership, you have employees that act just the same way. And if you figure out a way to harness that, I guess that could be a metaphor for what we're talking about. If you figure out a way to really capture that drive, I think you could have something really special on your hands, whether you're a dog owner or a dog musher or whatever.
Yeah. It kind of, with Mishka, it's like we make it so that it was his idea to do the thing. He's very enthusiastic. Otherwise, You're exactly right. Like a cat, basically. Yeah, I don't know. My goodness. All right. Now, you've also had a podcast since 2009. Guys, we're recording in 2025. Do the math. This is amazing. And you've never missed a week. How did that get started? Like, that is incredible. How did it get started? What is like the format, and, any tips or anything that you've got for people who are starting podcasts?
Oh, I could talk about this forever, but we had a dog training center in Denver. We had an old veterinary office, so it had a lobby and a front office and all of that. So we kept having the same questions from the same clients. Why does my dog pull? Why is he jumping on grandma? Why is he getting into the trash or whatever? So we set up a couple of mics in the lobby, and then after group classes on Saturday afternoons, we would set them up and have clients come in, and they would ask these questions, and we would just recorded it. And these were the early days of podcasting, and we just literally put those questions and answers online. And back then, it was called Blog Talk Radio. It was so rudimentary compared to what we do now. Nobody used Zoom or anything like that. And it just sort of took off because obviously, as a dog trainer, those same questions that our clients are asking in person, they're asking all over the world. So if we could share that information out there, we did that. And of course, that branched off to not only those weekly training tips type things where we're asking or answering questions, but we've also interviewed authors and filmmakers and veterinarians and experts in the field and all of that. And yeah, we have never missed an episode, and that's a pretty cool stat. Now, we have batched some episodes, like we'll do 3 or 4 at a time so we can go on vacation or whatever. But I know we'll talk about this in a second. How do we think about business outdoors? And I've recorded so many episodes on the sides of a riverbank or on the sled dog trail or in my Jeep or in a hotel room or whatever. You just got to keep the gears rolling. And if you can do that and you can remain consistent as a podcaster, often you will have the rewards of doing so, for sure.
Yeah, I've heard stats have varied, but like basically a lot of people will start a podcast. Very few get past 5 episodes, 10 episodes, 100 episodes. 16 years you've been doing this and never missed. That is incredible. Did you also use it to promote your business? I would imagine it had a great impact on that because you're instantly, well, maybe not instantly, you have to still earn it, but that authority that you gain from being the guy who's talking about this, how did that work for your business?
Yeah, we started it because we were paying a lot of money for Yellow Page ads back then. We were paying well over $1,000 a month for a little teeny ad in the Denver Yellow Pages, which was this thick. You know, it had every business imaginables, and we knew we had to do something quickly, and podcasting was just coming on board, so we knew that we had to use it as a marketing tool. So we set it up to, this is how we're going to do that. And really, we had ads in there for our services and all of that sort of stuff. And that just worked out very well to do that because, you don't necessarily need to be in person with a dog trainer to get dog training advice. So we took that road, if you will, and we still use it as our primary marketing opportunity. And it's worked out very well for us.
That is so cool. And to have been able to do that, even doing virtual services in 2009, that was not as easy as it is right now. This is like, no. Folks, I don't know if y'all know, like the first websites you'd build. I built mine in Excite Pro. A lot of them were in Dreamweaver. What was your first one built on?
Oh my goodness. I don't remember. It's probably something that GoDaddy was offering for way too much money way back then. And it's come a long way since then. But like you said, building up that authority, having a good website or a podcast or whatever you have can really pay off those dividends. But yeah, it's a grind. Your listeners know this. You have to grind every single day, whether you're indoors or outdoors. And if you don't, you're going to fall to the competition for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's not an easy overnight kind of thing for sure. All right, talk to us a little bit about business outside, your perspectives on that.
Well, I spend a lot of time out on the sled dog trails with our sled dogs, and I do a lot of business analysis, if you will, while I'm out there. As they say, you do your best thinking when you're either driving, exercising, or watching TV, I guess. But I do a lot of business idea thinking, if you will, out on the sled dog trail. And it just, getting out there and away from your desk can really help you sort of get through the noise. And I think that works best for us. I mean, I have a whole bunch of stories about how things have developed over the years, but just really getting out there and figuring out the steps to things when you don't have, your phone pinging and your to-do list mounting and, the phone ringing and all of that other stuff. When you can just really get out there and turn things off, that's where the magic happens, I think.
I love that. That's so great. Can you share one story? Like I'm always hoping that somebody's got like, oh, I came up with this idea. It did this. Do you have anything like that? Like something that you came up with while you're outside?
I could probably say that initial trip that I talked about, that winter multi-sport expedition, came on a sled dog run. I was out there just thinking about it. I remember pretty distinctly. I was out there with a fellow student. Her name is Miranda, and we were out there and just doing our thing out on the sled dog trails. And we sat to kind of have a break or a snack or whatever. And we were talking about what can we do next? What can we do better? And we started thinking about how we can apply this to our program. And here we are all these years later of just kind of taking the time to put together the pieces. And I think you can really figure out good business opportunities out there.
That's so cool. Now, all right. So here's the thing. So normally my routine is in the morning. I go out for a walk. I'm not listening to anything. I do have my phone because I know I'm going to get a good idea, and I'll just like voice record it. If I bring my dogs with me, it's a little bit more challenging. There's 3 of them that I'm walking. We have a 4th one, but she's really old, doesn't want to walk anymore. How on earth, if you're on like a dog sled, and you got a great idea, are you just trusting? I'm 57, you're 54. Like, we both know that the biggest lie in the world is, oh, I'll remember that, right? So how do you capture it?
I do a lot of voice notes. Like you said, I have probably 1,000 reminders on my iPhone, and most of them will probably never get checked off. But that's how I do it. I do it very similar to you. If I think of something, whether I'm, out with the dogs or driving down the road or whatever, I don't know how many business ideas I have come up with, and I've written down the note or the reminder at a stoplight, and just done that, or listening to a podcast and I hear a nugget and I'll pull off to the side of the road to type that in or whatever. That's the way of the world these days. And of course, I still keep planners and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, the iPhone can be a pretty powerful tool, whether you're using an iPhone or an Android or whatever. Take advantage of those notes apps, or nowadays you can record everything as a voice note, and those will all be saved for you and cataloged and smart tagged and all of that.
Exactly. Oh, I love that so much. It's crazy that when I got the inspiration to build this retreat center for entrepreneurs, I was on a long road trip. And all of a sudden, there were some things that contributed to this, but all of a sudden I'm riding and it was like, hey, you should totally build a retreat center for entrepreneurs in the Smokies. I'm like, what? Okay. And I had a really long drive. I couldn't stop and hang out and, get all my ideas out and all this, but I'm like, I don't want to be unsafe. So I'm literally writing in a notebook, not looking at it as I'm driving, going, I hope I can read this later. Arrive back home, I'm like, hey, honey. It's nuts though. When you get that inspiration, you just how does that feel for you when you've had those brilliant ideas? What's the physical experience for you?
Oh, it's a great experience. And I had a very similar experience to what you did. I remember my wife and I, we do a long road trip every summer. And I remember we were talking about our dog training programs and what was going to set us apart from everybody else. And this is way before COVID and that whole shift. And I remember we were in the middle of nowhere somewhere, like Utah or somewhere, and we just pulled off the side of the road and we just broke down everything that we did then and what we needed to do now. And we came up with what we still use today. It's called our Peak Performance Program. And it's a combination of in-person classes, a camp where the dog stays with us for a period of time, and then classes afterwards. And nobody else at that time was really doing anything like that. They were either doing lessons or a board and train or whatever. And we figured the best way to serve our clients is to give them a whole bunch of stuff together and then have their dogs come with us, and then a whole bunch of stuff afterwards to cement things in together. And we developed that entire program on that road trip. And we still use it today. It is by far our most successful program. And it was developed probably in the middle of nowhere on some little 2-lane highway in the middle of Utah or Colorado or somewhere.
I love it. Those roads can be endless. So thank goodness we get great ideas on them because, oh my gosh. All right. So what does it look like now for can it just a normal average business owner come and work with you? Do you need to be in the college? How does it work? Could people come work with you?
Well, we do teach the 2 classes every winter. We have a shorter class, a 1-credit class at one university, than the longer kind of leadership class at the other university. But we do trips or tours with regular folks, if you will, all the time. We give them an immersive experience. They don't just come out and sit in the sled or the basket and go for a ride and say, hey, how was that for $500? No, we give them the true experience, the whole shebang. So you can do that. We do a little bit of business coaching, but man, if I took on another business, that's just a whole nother ball of worms or whatever the saying is. But we will offer those opportunities if they come up for sure.
That's really cool. I love that. What do you see as your growing edge in your business now? What would you say are the biggest challenges that you face, and what are you mulling over while you're outside now?
By far, the biggest challenge is the magazine. And we were afforded that opportunity because of our podcast. And that was such a cool thing. If I have time just for another quick story, we have been podcasting, like I said, for many years. We also do a dog mushing podcast that at the time was called Mushing Radio, and it's on the local radio station here in Alaska. And there was a couple that lived up in Nome, Alaska. They owned the oldest newspaper in Alaska called the Nome Nugget. And they took on Mushing Magazine, I believe as the second or third owner, as a passion project. And this was right during COVID. So they were dealing with supply issues. And here they were in Nome, where, it's difficult to get out on a good day. And they called me up, and I was again on another road trip. I was in Maine to do a service dog training program. And this guy called me and said, "Hey, would you be interested in taking over Mushing magazine?" And I thought about it for a little bit, and I said, yeah, I think so. And we eventually started talking, and he said, "You're the only one that we could think to do this with." And I said, "How come?" He goes, "I have listened to every episode of your podcast, and I want you to be the one that carries on the mantle." So I said, "Oh man, what an opportunity to have this, truly become the historians of the sport, at least in the written world." And man, we took it without doing a lot of thinking about it. A lot of businesses start that way. And it has been a blessing and a curse to try to do a print magazine in 2023, 2024, and here into 2025. So much goes into it. Podcasting is relatively easy. You sit behind a mic, you hit record, you do a little editing, and off you go. When you have to deal with writing and printing and contributors and freelancers and editing and proofreading and all of that, it is a chore, but we're doing it. And we've produced 3 issues now. It's a 4 time a year magazine, so we've done 3 issues in our first year. Our next one's coming out in late January, and we're going to do as much as we possibly can, at least until it either puts us in the poorhouse or we just can't afford to do it anymore.
One way or the other, right?
Yeah.
And it could totally take off too, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
That is really, really exciting. Just like right on the edge, I think that's
Right
where
on the edge.
we tend to do. Now, how about with the rest of your business? What do you foresee? Like, do you have big plans looking forward? Is this what you want to do forever? Is Alaska your forever home now? I have a lot of questions, don't I?
The business has been going for, like we said, 30 years or so. At some point, our daughter will be taking it over whenever she's ready to do that. As a small business owner, I don't know if you ever really retire.
Yeah.
Even at in your early to mid 50s, as you said and I said, but hopefully someday we can do that. I don't know. Business looks good. People will always have dogs. They say that one in every other family has a dog, so I think there will always be business out there. We're a little limited by geography. Of course, we only have a handful of people up here, but if you're a go-getter, you can obviously move businesses elsewhere, whether that's online or in-person classes at other places. We've done that. So business is looking good, but always looking for opportunities.
I think that's great. Please tell me you've written a book.
That's on the horizon at some point. I was talking to my wife about this the other day, and I have been in school for so long. Literally every day since 2014. And she bought me a book for Christmas, and it was a business book, of course. And I told her on Christmas morning, her name is Michelle. I said, "Michelle, I have not read a book for pleasure in over 10 years. It's all been textbooks or academic journals or whatever. So if I ever get the time, I've got a lot of stories to tell, but man, that is, it's way on the back burner, but at least someday it'll get done."
Please do. Please, I want to help you with that. I would write your book, man. I mean, my brain is firing with all the possible analogies, the stories you must have, how this all ties in, human nature, the dog nature, how they cross. Like, you got to do it.
Let's do
and
it.
writing
We'll
it,
pop
let's
out
do it. That's awesome. Oh my gosh, that is all right. So if you could pass along some your best piece of advice that might really resonate with our people, what might that be?
I tell people all the time, stay hungry. It's a buffet if you want it to be. I think that's an important analogy for entrepreneurs. Is you can never take the easy road. It's always going to be hard, and it doesn't get any easier. It may may seem like it's getting easier when you get a little bit more money in the bank or a few more clients, but you always have to think about tomorrow. And I think if you do that, you will go a long way. And both you and I have been doing this for a long time. Don't be afraid to get out there and just tackle that next business idea, like you said on the title of your show, Entrepreneurs Gone Wild. I think that that is such a cool title for a podcast and as a business. You have to get out there and you have to think about it. You have to really go out there and, as they say, pull up the old bootstraps and get the boots muddy and keep on plugging away.
That is solid advice. All right, Robert, where can people find out more about working with you and follow along with what you're all doing?
Well, it's easy to find me. I'm on all socials at my name. It's Robert Forto, Forto. Our podcast is Dogworks Radio. If you're interested in dog mushing, we're at mushing.com. Just look up my name and you'll find out enough, and it'll link you all over the place.
Thank you. That's so cool. Thank you so much for joining us. This is definitely probably the wildest podcast episode yet. So
thank you.